All right, I think we are officially live now. Just yep. So, first of all, uh if you're not familiar with what this is basically I need this sort of structure to actually build all of my homebrew stuff for D&D. So, even though we usually don't get a lot of people watching or listening, I find this helpful. It gives me a structure, and I'm able to uh, work a little bit better on it. So let me just go ahead and open up the last thing I need over here. And today we're going to be building another subclass for our homebrew here in Arissa, which we'll go through the world building part first. As I say, whenever I do one of these, I feel like anytime you're designing something, you need to figure out where it fits in your world along with the mechanics of it. Both of those are crucial to building something effectively. And just to sort of show that this isn't something we're just doing off the bat, I've made several subclasses, filter creations. There we go. Pseudo live, I guess you could call it. Last time, I think about 2 weeks ago, we made a new ranger, which is available up on D&D Beyond. All and so today, much like the ranger, monk I don't feel is in as bad of a place as ranger is, but today we're going to be working on building ourselves a monk. So if you're not familiar with how this goes, I sort of walk through our process at the start. And one of the things that if you're going to be home brewing is one of the most important links to have is this on the homebrew and house rules forum on Beyond, this official creating subclasses guide. You can scroll down and it shows you what levels you need to actually give features at. For the monk, not a whole lot of features, 3, 6, 11, 17, and most people when you're playing probably aren't going to see level 17. The next thing to do when you're building this is to get an idea of your mechanics. Figure out how much power a class gets from their subclass. Where's the one of the default ones? Way of the Four Elements, for example. You can come down here and you can sort of look and see that monks get a weird breakdown of power from their subclass. Disciple of the Elements or Way of the Four Elements, whichever one you want to call it, gets uh, lot of strange utility. It is terrible, but it's one of the core ones, and so that's why I wanted to go with go with that one. But yes, Four Elements is probably one of the worst monk classes. Even though it gives you a lot of stuff that seems like it would be really cool, it's just it doesn't it doesn't do anything. It doesn't do enough. Top five, worst five. I don't know Monk well enough to give you that. I could tell you that I personally like the flavor for Kensai, even if it may not be one of the best monk subclasses. And I haven't looked at the Tasha. Oh, yes, it's definitely Four Elements is definitely one of the worst subclasses. It's maybe up there with Champion Fighter. It might Champion Fighter's probably worse, but yeah, that's the thing. Four Elements has a really good flavor. They didn't realize it well. Uh, where were we? So when we go back up here, the next thing to do when I guess my main issue with the champion fighter is that it's boring and the thing it's supposed to do, which is better damage. Almost every other fighter is as good or better than it has, and so it's fine. It's just kind of boring. Um, One thing that I've been trying to do when I'm building subclasses is to actually relate it to some of your inherent class features, which I think we're going to do with this one. Is we're going to try and find new ways to use ki, and we're also going to focus on the fact that as a monk you get a lot of attacks. So those are things you just want to look at. Yeah, no. I feel like what they wanted Champion Fighter to do is they wanted that to be the subclass you picked if you wanted your fighter to, be able to do stuff in exploration or social pillars. Totally forgetting that, the Eldritch Knight can get fly, and fighters generally didn't need to be too didn't I don't want to say didn't need, but generally if you were playing a fighter, you were kind of okay being bad in those two areas. No, I don't want to become famous. Believe me, the world doesn't need more famous people. Um, so there we go. Basic familiarity with monk will be helpful when we move on to the next set of things. You have your key points that let you do your monk stuff, and then you basically get lots of attacks and mobility. Those are oversimplification of a monk. Um, So, like I said before, one of the other things you need to do is figure out where does your subclass fit in your world, and this is going to be uh, a lot of incredibly boring world building stuff. And one of the things that I've been trying to do with our subclasses, let me go down. I need to build internal links into my Google Doc. Is if you look at all of our archetypes for Arissa, each one of them tries to build a little bit on parts of the world I hadn't really, talked about. So like the barbarians looked at the people in the Ascent of War, which is basically this large desert area where this divine conflict is happening, who aren't involved directly in that divine conflict. So on and so forth. A lot of these just try to look at a part of the world that isn't part of what you would consider like the overall meta plot, or that is, but is a corner case and just like a neat little pinpoint of that's a cool function of the world existing. So for our monks, one of the things that exists in the world of Orisa, and if you're not familiar with it, then this is going to be a little strange, but maybe next time I'm just going to do a primer on what is Orisa so that all of this makes a little more sense. Essentially, there's a place called the Everbright, which is a giant spear that goes from the earth all the way up to the sun god's palace. And it's essentially just when it was created. Let's go up to our, again, I need to build in internal links. The Everbright is essentially a big tool that the god of this plane used, and it was sort of a trump card, right? Like it could be used as a ship to go to other planes, they could use it to escape, and it was also a giant warship. And essentially, the Everbright, he tried to use it to kill this world serpent that is trying to eat the sun. And it failed, and now the entire world has this giant glowing spear stuck out of it that serves as kind of the central focus point. And as a world builder, what this does for you is it's essentially a giant colony ship, so you can do whatever you want in it. You can be very sci-fi, you can have, weird radiation things happening. It's just a cool magical place. But part of what I was realizing as I was going through all of our subclasses is that living in the Everbright, that's where we put all of the dwarves because we didn't have a traditional, mountain range. So we were just like, well, the dwarves worked with the sun god, so the dwarves that our players or adventurers might come across are dwarves who were in this giant planar ship when it was crashed, and they now live in there, sort of stuck, either trying to get out, maybe who knows what they're doing in there. And so what sort of society would build up in that world? And I thought that it would be interesting since our regular world of Arissa isn't traditionally feudal. You don't have kings and fiefdoms. Is in the Everbright, since it's this huge generational ship that's unfathomably huge, why don't we turn that into our more feudal area where, you have dwarven kings and barons and things, and there's the wild areas where the radiation has turned whatever lives there into monsters and the like, and so you have vassals who protect the main castles. Well, they're not really castles, but the main living areas as warriors, and that gives us where our monk subclass comes in, because one of the things that's interesting about, it's not really just medieval history, but early history, is the concept of trial by combat. And that brings us to our monks, who, our idea for the monk comes in, this idea that they are basically wandering champions. They travel throughout the Everbright. They could be your traditional knight errants who are, they're out to champion the oppressed. They fight for those who, who are wrongfully charged with crimes, and so they champion those who are weak. Maybe they are just mercenaries and they'll fight for anyone who gives them money. But the idea is that they exist to fight in this very regimented, legalistic, one-on-one trial by combat. And the second idea, which is where my mechanics came from, is that probably when you think of one-on-one dueling, one of the first things that comes to mind is are fighting games, right? Where you literally, most of the early fighting games, you're literally just moving left and right on a one-on-one duel. So that's where our mechanics are going to come from. We're going to try and use that to help us build what this monk is going to do with a flavor of they are champions who fight in one-on-one trial by combat. So they protect the weak or whoever will hire them, and they focus on single combat. So all of that in mind, if you're sort of tuning out all of the world building, here's where we're going to go to our actual there it is, subclass creation, which I always pick create from scratch. So we don't have a really good name for this. I think most of the monks start with way of. So we're just going to say way of the trial combatant. Again, we'll come up with a better, cooler name, but we just need a name to stick in there. If you've seen these before, I have no idea how to do version numbering, so we'll just do 0.0 this time. The short description, I was smart this time and I copied and pasted before an example. The short description should be like 2 to 3 lines that gives the world the place in the world for this subclass. So trial combatants are often wandering. Trial combatants have learned this art form from traveling champion duelists from the Everbright who trained in one-on-one ritualistic trial by combat. Oh. Now the fun trick will be, will I remember? That's how I do version numbering by next time. But thank you for that, and I really should try and make this so that I can read things more than once. Trial combatants have learned this art form from traveling champion duelists. These combatants may be motivated by justice, greed, or justice, greed, or simply the desire to fight. They excel. So there we go. The fighting style hails from the Everbright, where a ritualistic trial by combat remains an option for members, for both noble and commoner alike, and therefore champions like these have no have will always have a ready supply of clients. Those who take up the mantle of adventurer use these skills to protect their more physically frail allies and to single out dangerous combatants for one-on-one, dangerous foes for one-on-one combat. There we go. Captures your fantasy, your fiction. What did World of Warcraft call this? Your class fantasy, in a very like quick 1 to 2 sentences. I think I broke the rule. I think I went to 3 or 4, but it's still only like 3 to 4 lines, so that's fine. The description is longer, and I've stolen my template for the description straight from, I want to say this is what I think like the old AD&D, or maybe it was 3035 style of class descriptions worked, where you have your paragraph, why you want to play it, and then like a bit on how to build. So trial combatants are monks that focus on the combat pillar while excelling at certain aspects of the social pillar of adventure. These pillars of adventure, I don't know who in Wizards came up with them, but I really like them because they help you on these sort of design decisions, like knowing those are the 3 things that when you write an adventure you're looking at: exploration, combat, social. Well, now it's very easy, like this character's good at this character's okay at that. This is usually a formally trained art. This is usually a formally trained art handed down from master to apprentice, though some rare adventurers may independently pursue this style. So this is trying to give us a world, right? In particular, dwarven masters are known to take on 2 apprentices at a time, so that the apprentices may practice with each other on even footing. Taking on non-dwarven students is generally frowned upon, but gnomish students are not unheard of, and as many in Everbright's society see trial combatants as mercenaries at best, they don't have high expectations for masters. They expect some masters to simply teach those who are willing to pay. So we're trying to build this world, right? Like, so Everbright Society hires these people to fight for them, but they kind of look down on them because they're mercenaries, and so they're like, this is like a proud dwarven heritage thing, and so you shouldn't teach non-dwarves, but they look down on these people, and they're like, but we understand that you guys are, mercenaries, so you're not necessarily going to act with the honor that we expect you to. So this gives you a nice little feeling of the place in the world, and it gives you an inroad to some really cool adventure hooks, right? Like if you've got someone who's picking this class, you've got pre-built NPCs for them. You've got the other apprentice they trained with, you have their master that they learned under, and then maybe you've just got this idea that people look at them as, hired guns without any, honor or without any real adherence to the idea of dwarven culture, and also, that they're kind of expendable tools. So this like just these couple of lines is what you should be looking at building when you're creating a subclass, right? It's to give you the DM room to have this thing exist as more than a pile of abilities, right? And now let's go ahead. Because of the nature of the job, many trial combatants become adventurers in intentionally or through the happenstance of traveling through the Everbright or Aryssan. Trial combatants make excellent frontline fighters. Now let's not use fighters because that's frontline characters and enhances the monk's already excellent mobility and ability to lock down a single target. So there you go. You've got what you want. So play trial combatant. Let's use the right thing. Okay, the key thing, you want to be a tradition or honor bound duelist with duelist. Yeah, it's okay. We can use duelist. You want to protect weaker members of your team from the front. You want to excel in combat against single powerful foes. You imagine your monk. Is a member of hails from the Everbright, or is hails from the Everbright, either hails from the Everbright or has learned a martial art foreign to their homeland. Building a trial combatant. This gets kind of boring, honestly. Like, all monks focus on the trial combatants preferred to hit and damage stat, strength, or dexterity first, and all heroes should benefit from constitution. Like other monks, do not neglect your wisdom. And there we go. We have our opening thing. We're not going to give them any extra spells. We don't need additional specific spells. So now we're ready to do the interesting part. And I'm actually, trial combatant is growing on me, but undoubtedly when we get to version 2 or 3, we're going to have a better name. But for right now, this is what we have, and let's see, will we get an error? No error. Excellent. basic information. And let's make sure real quick. Okay, we didn't forget to change our rangers to monks in here. So let me go back to my list here of notes. So we've got something at levels 3, 6, 11, and 17. So, where I don't need that anymore. So one of the important things to note is you don't want to give too many things late, and you want a lot of the cool stuff that comes early. So key is important. At level 3, you're going to have 3 key points. And so Flurry of Blows, Patient Defense, and Step of the Wind are what every monk is going to have. And so a lot of that is going to take away some of our thunder, right? Because being able to dodge and disengage dash as a bonus action is already something that we were planning to give. But monks get it inherently, so what we're going to do is we're going to have those gain riders along with your Flurry of Blows. So at level 3, our goal is to make you duel better, right? So all of these things need to get better somehow. So here we go. We're going to add a class feature. So Art of the Duel. No, let's not do that. That's silly. Let's just call this Trial Combatant's Enhanced Key usage. Snippet starting at level 3. Whenever you spend a key point on Flurry of Blows or Patient Defense, you gain the following benefits. You gain the following benefits. Oh no, we can't do bullet points there. The effect is improved. So then down here, you gain the following effects. Bullets, Flurry of Blows. For each attack on the same target after the first, if you hit, deal additional damage equal to your proficiency modifier. So there you go. That encourages you to attack the same target. You basically just deal extra damage, and it sounds like it's going to fall off as you go higher because your proficiency bonus doesn't scale as hard as health does. But you also get an extra attack at level 5, which means that at level 6 we'll need to make sure that rider goes on even if you're not using Flurry of Blows. And then Patient Defense. When you use this, choose a single hostile creature you can see until the start of your next turn. When that creature attacks you, you may use your reaction to reduce its damage done by your proficiency bonus to a minimum of 1. When that creature attacks and hits you. So there we go. I feel like that's a pretty strong level 3, and it does exactly what we want want you to be doing as a monk, right? Um, we're saying that that either that guy I'm going to be really well defended against, or I am going to just hit things. Um, of course, key. You have 3 points of key to start, and if I remember right, that's a short rest resource. Yeah, it's a short rest resource. Oh. Oh, okay. That's 30 minutes of the short rest, not in addition to the short rest. Okay. Um yeah, and then let's do one other thing. Uh Flurry of Blows or Step of the Wind. The effect is improved. And then Step of the Wind. If you end the move granted by Step of the Wind next to a a hostile creature and attack it, you have advantage on the on the on attacks. Here, let's. If you end the move granted by Step of the Wind next to a hostile creature, you have advantage on all melee attacks made against that creature until the start of your next turn. So there you go. Next to a hostile creature and no other creatures. For each attack on the same. There we go. So now you're just very good at moving around and using your base key. Um, Required class level 3, display order 1. There are no options. Hide in builder, hide in sheet. Create class feature. Oh, must have it's granted. I think that might be good enough for level 3. I honestly think you may not need much more than that. Oh no, no, no. Their bonus action is where they use their key. Their key lets them, like we're saying for this guy, you should be using your bonus action for Step of the Wind and Patient Defense because it makes you much better. Because, for example, with our version of Patient Defense, you now when that creature attacks and hits you, you may use your reaction to. You may not want it to be your reaction. We're just going to say you reduce its damage done by your proficiency bonus to a minimum of 1. So and then Step of the Wind, the first round where you walk up to something and lock it down, you get advantage on all of your melee attacks. Both of those use your bonus action. So what we actually are doing right now is we've told the monk what they should be doing with their bonus action most of the time. So we really don't want them to have anything else. But what we do want is we do want to give them one other thing that's just a ribbon ability. And this is just going to be meant. No, what we want this to be is starting at level 3, you gain proficiency with history or another skill if you are already proficient in history. Trial combatants spend a significant amount of their time not just training in martial arts, but in learning the traditions and legal structure surrounding their ritualistic duels. So, Everbright Dueling, you gain proficiency with history, or you gain proficiency in survival in their ritualistic duels and in no, I don't think they get much else with their bonus action and in surviving in the Everbright. Bright. Right. So there we go. Just a nice, just or survival, or in another skill if you are already proficient in history or survival. So basically, in addition to learning how to punch things, right, you also, part of this is learning about the society, which I think history is the best knowledge for that, or learning, how to not die in the crashed Everbright, which would be survival. So, required class level 3, display order. Why is 2 not in order here? Um, yes, it's going to have options. There's only one option chosen at 3. It's granted. And now let's see, did that work? Yes. So add an option. Not do what I wanted it to do. Right. Add an option. You've chosen proficiency in history, and let's spell both of those words right. Yeah. Everbright Dueling skill training history. Do. And we add a modifier, which is a proficiency, and it is a proficiency in history. All right. Let's go back up. Instead of calling it dueling history, we were calling it, what were we calling it? Skill training. Everbright Dueling skill training. Mm-hmm. Why? What's it like? Oh. And then add a modifier. Proficiency. Sadly, because they are monks, I get the feeling most people are going to pick survival, right? Because that's what their stats are good at, which is kind of a sad way to make life decisions, but whatever. And then we need this to say that its required level is 3, or it will not work properly. All right. So there's one other thing that we need. Is the, so here's how for skills, D&D Beyond is smart. If something grants you a skill you already have, it it makes you pick a different skill. You don't have to program in teach me history, or if I know, or if the character knows history, choose something else. It already is built into the base D&D Beyond. So, which is good because that's one less bit of figuring out how it works. So the last thing that we need at level 3, and this is mainly because 6, 11, and 17 are going to have to build on this, we now need trial by combat. Starting at level 3, you may expend a point of key whenever you roll initiative. Roll initiative for the following benefits. Yes, expertise is here. Let me save this real fast, and then we can go back. This is a 3. It's 3 class options. It doesn't know anything. This is just granted. Create class feature. It worked. Excellent. So here we go. And let me know if you need me to zoom in more. So here where it has like modifier proficiency, expertise is one of the modifiers we can grant. So these modifiers, it's all sorts of things like bonus, damage, advantage, disadvantage. You can do a lot with Beyond. I haven't tried. Wow, Eldritch Blast is a modifier type. Yeah, so it's a really great system once you learn a little bit about it. So, trial by combat. This is the defining thing. The first thing makes you a little bit better, so on and so forth. So starting at level 3, you may expend a point of key whenever you roll initiative for the following benefits. So let's be very basic. Add your proficiency bonus to your initiative roll. Right? That's just basic nice thing, right? If you're in a one-on-one duel, going first is the biggest advantage you can possibly get. Choose a single hostile creature you can see. That creature becomes your that creature, and you are affected by ritual combat. Whenever a creature affected by ritual combat attempts to attack a target other than the creature affected by the other creature affected by ritual combat, that the attacking creature must make a wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC, which is 8 plus wisdom plus proficiency bonus. On a failed save, that creature's attacks have disadvantage. You have advantage on saves against your own ritual combat. So there we go. This now is what we're using to give our monk a little bit of control, right? And this gets better the more attacks a creature has, right? Because if it's got 5 attacks, it doesn't just make one save. That creature's attacks have disadvantage until the start of the creature's next turn. Once a creature has failed a ritual combat saving throw, it does not need to make another save until the start of the creature's next turn. So if you spend your key, you don't get it every time, so there is a little bit of a cost. Ritual combat. If you reduce a creature affected by your ritual combat to 0 or fewer hit points, you may regain 1 key point. So, yeah. So, the thing is, it makes it harder for that thing to attack things, and if you kill it, you get that key back. So, you can keep it rolling a little bit. Which, again, incentivizes you to want to attack the guy you've got your ritual combat on. And then at 6, 11, and 17, ritual combat is going to get better. But I think this is, I think, kind of what, here, save changes, what your level 3 should look like for a class. It's inherently only once, right? Well, because monsters die at 0 hit points, right? They don't get back up. Theoretically, I guess if you did ritual combat with a PC, knocked them out, and then had someone heal them and knock them out again, you could get 2 key points. But yeah, it shouldn't happen. And if it does, I'm kind of okay with because again, you can't gain more key points than your maximum. If your ritual combat is with a guy who keeps getting back up, I'm okay with that random corner case scenario, your monk being able to exploit that for an encounter. And if you start knocking out your wizard friend and the wizard's familiar for extra key, that's a problem. But I guess you technically can't, right? It has to be a hostile creature. Yeah, choose a single hostile creature. So yes, you can't just like beat up your friends and feed them good berries at the start of every before every encounter. Please don't do that to your friends. So if you come down here, you can make actions, but since this is done before combat, I don't want to put it as an action on your, standard, whatever you want to call it. I feel like this can just exist as it is. So trial by combat, and then we're going to call this ritual combat. That way, at 6, 11, and 17, we can call it trial by combat, and then whatever else we want to enhance it with. So save changes. And this, by the way, is what I think a level 3 or an entry into a subclass should be. This is now radically different from every other monk that's out there. And it has its identity, right? It's not like, yeah. But like a lot of the wizard subclasses don't get their cool thing for a while. They're just kind of a wizard. So this is what, if you're building a subclass, your subclass should look like very early. This will play differently than any other monk. It has a strong identity, and it knows what it wants to do that makes it different than another monk. So let's go ahead, add a class feature. This is our level 6 monk feature. So, this is going to be boring. So, I think that for almost every level, you should get, something either really good, or in this case, level 6 is going to be two fairly boring things. So, dueling, enhanced dueling, or maybe we'll just call this training regimen, because starting at level 6, you gain an additional hit point per hit die you have. So, very boring, but you're going to be a frontline character. You've got D8 hit points. Maybe this will go away when we make a later draft, but very boring. You're just slightly tougher than the average monk because you're going to be routinely standing and fighting single target things. And now, add scaled effects at class levels for your feature modifiers. Now, this is a modifier I don't know if it actually exists. Hit points? No. Right, but you're going to get something else at level 6 along with this. Mm-hmm. Add a level scale, class level, fixed value. Maybe we're not going to do this just because it won't let me. Bonus. Oh, why am I not doing it this way? Bonus hit points per level. Fixed value 1. Yeah. Like I said, fairly boring, but it also makes sense, right? Like, 6 hit points is a decent gain. And now we're going to improve our trial by combat at level 6. Alright, level 6. Display order 5. Well, without actually getting it, because now you still will roll your d8 when you're doing your short rests. No, you already get that with your passive defense. So the next thing that we need for ritual combat is we already have you wanting to attack it. We now just need what's that anyway? Yeah. So uh, starting at 6th level level, you gain the following bonus against a creature affected by your ritual combat. Yeah. Uh, when a creature would attack you for the second time in a turn, you may spend your reaction and a key point to immediately attack that creature with Stunning Fist. which, let me make sure, at level 6 you have Stunning Fist. You should. It's called Stunning Strike now. With Stunning Strike. The creature makes this. No, because stun is really good, so we don't want to give it disadvantage on this. So if you hit, you may add your proficiency bonus to the damage dealt. Right, because you already don't get that. Monastic Tradition, Stunning Strike. Yeah, so that, I think, is really all the best thing you need, because by level 6, most monsters that haven't already been getting 2 attacks are getting 2 attacks against you. You may spend your end to immediately make a melee attack against that creature with Stunning Strike. So, yes, your combo breaker. We'll come up with a less goofy name for it later, but this is what I was saying when I was like thinking of like a fighting game, right? So here, if a monster's got like 6 attacks, would attack you for the second time in a turn, you might just stun it out of its future attacks, which I feel is really good. And good enough that, along with some extra hit points, that is our level 6. Feature type, granted. This, however, will require an action to be created. So down here, we're going to add an action. Action type, it's a general action. We're just going to call it Combo Breaker. Level. When a creature under the effect of your ritual combat would attack you or an adjacent friendly creature. There we go. That's so much better now. Activation type, it's a reaction. Area of attack. Well, it's a melee attack. Display as attack. Affected by martial arts. Oh no, because we're saying you may spend a reaction and a key. You may spend your reaction to immediately make a melee attack against that creature with Stunning Strike. We're going to just add a note here. Note, you only need to spend 1 key point for this, not an additional key point to activate Stunning Strike. Because otherwise people might think you do need to spend 2 points, which the whole point of this is that you don't. Yes, you have to. So it's basically you're attacking, and it's automatically going to be a Stunning Strike if you hit against that creature. This attack automatically is a Stunning Strike if it hits the creature. I thought the way it was written before made that clear, but this is a little bit more clear. Save. And now let's go ahead. So instead of saying that, you may make a reaction attack with no. The stunning strike, it means that the creature makes the Constitution save. It would say something like the creature automatically fails the save for stunning strike if it wasn't. So basically, it's just you're spending the key point for the reaction that you normally wouldn't get to make an attack in this case. No, let's just get against yeah. Let's just save it like that. No options. Display order 5. Save changes. And now next is level 11. And honestly, monks usually don't get that high because people have, well, most characters don't get up to 11. So let's look at just an idea of what you've got. You have evasion, stillness of mind. Those are pretty neat. Key empowered strikes, more movement, purity of body. Yeah, you're getting some neat stuff, but so far, nothing really like screams out as this is what we should get at level 11. And that's all you get at level 11 is your upgraded monastic tradition. Come on, go over here. So we'll add a class feature. Acquired class level 11. Display order. Are we up to 7? I think we were. So well, gain the following bonuses when attacking a creature affected by your ritual combat. When when you attack a creature affected by ritual combat for a second or whenever for the second or when you attack a creature affected by ritual combat after the first after your first attack against a creature affected by your ritual combat, each subsequent attack attack you may pay a key point on any subsequent attack this after your first attack against a on a turn subsequent attack for one of the following benefits. Iron Breaker. All friendly creatures that attack this creature before your next turn have advantage. Forgo this attack. Uh, if this attack hits, the damage dealt the creature the creature has resistance to your attack. You may move yourself or the creature 5 feet after this attack. If you move the creature, it must make a strength save versus your spell save DC, which is 8 plus wisdom bonus plus proficiency, or be knocked prone. Yeah, no, that's actually kind of the idea. Is Sanctuary is a kind of a it's a really great spell that never gets much use because it it's great as an idea, but in implementation, like that could have been a slot for Bless or something so much better. And then the only other uh, you may deal if you hit with. So let's go back up here and make sure that what I'm about to say works. Because essentially, what I want to say. Uh, da, 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 yes. If you hit with. If you hit this creature with an attack and your martial arts, you may make an additional attack. So that doesn't really. These two really don't fit what we're trying to do, right? Because throwing someone and knocking them down and having your friends gang up on them really aren't in theme for what this is. I think this is better. Uh, if you hit this creature with any one of any attack and your martial arts on this turn, you may make an additional attack with advantage. With advantage. If attack that attack hits, you may make an additional martial arts attack with disadvantage. Yeah, like they were cool ideas, but then I was like, no, the whole idea is that you're like a one-on-one fighter, so like knocking down their guard and being like, guys, gang up on him doesn't seem in theme. But this I think does. You may only trigger combination strike once per turn. So the real reason for that is that this isn't supposed to feel too magical, and so uh, also, in part, if you go look at the barbarian, the Dune Stalker, he already does that. He makes like little patches of desert around him so that people can't get away. So that's the real reason we're not doing it, because we already did it with a different class. But this sort of plays into the whole fighting game idea, right? If you're making a whole bunch of attacks, you get to keep making attacks until you miss. Uh, uh, recovery strike. If you miss an attack on your turn, and you may spend a key to make an additional attack with advantage. Advantage. If that attack hits, the damage roll is also made with it. This is something I don't see it used a lot, is giving damage rolls advantage. No, Flurry of Blows is different. Martial arts is when you're unarmed or wielding only monk weapons. When you use the attack action, you make an additional unarmed strike as a bonus action. So Flurry of Blows is you get you after your attack action you can make 2 attacks. It's not a bonus action, it just uses key. So at level 1, a monk can make 4 attacks. Yeah, 4 attacks. Their base attack, 2 Flurry of Blows, and martial arts. And then at level 5 you get your second attack, and so on and so forth. And so here, if you hit this creature with any attack and your martial arts attack, you may spend a key to make an additional attack with advantage. If that attack hits, the damage roll also is also made with advantage. We waited to give this at level 11 because level 6 was full, and we didn't want to give it earlier because until you get to level 5, your only way to make 2 attacks to guarantee, a decent shot at hitting and your martial arts attack was when you get your extra attack at 5. So that's why this ended up getting pushed to 11, because it was really the only spot where we had it. And then recovery strike. If you miss an attack on your turn that used key, you may make a wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC. That's 8 plus proficiency bonus plus wisdom bonus. If you succeed, you may make the first time you miss an attack on your turn against the target of your ritual combat. If you succeed, you may re-roll the failed attack. No. The key doesn't eat your bonus. Flurry of Blows. Immediately after you take the attack action. Oh, it does. Well, that doesn't work. Because usually it's got it up here as a bonus action. Oh, maybe now things are... Yeah, no, it was templated differently than I would have done it if I was saying it. Well, that's unfortunate. So now I think let's just template this to, if you hit a creature that is affected by your ritual combat with 2 attacks in 1 turn, you may spend a key to make an additional attack with advantage. If that attack hits, you may make an additional martial arts attack with disadvantage. There we go. Yeah, so now we've fixed the wording a little bit. And then recovery strike, just makes it so the first time you miss, you get to try and save and attack and recover, get a second shot at that attack. They are attacks, but they are not an attack action. So something that requires you to take the attack action, for example, dual wielding, requires you to have taken the attack action. So if you get a bonus attack, you can't use your offhand weapon. And if I'm wrong, someone will correct me. So, uh, uh, improved strikes. So there's level 11. Feature type just granted. There's only 6. I was wrong. Let's go back in here and change this to number 6. Now level 17 is going to be trial by combat. Now that sounds too. So here we go. Well, it's only the first time you miss, and you have to beat your own save. So there will be plenty of times where you're going to miss and you're just not going to get the reroll anyway. And making you spend a key to try again, and you might fail anyway, feels kind of bad. Again, this is also a first draft. It might, in a future iteration, change to that, because a second attempt to get a whole bunch of attacks is kind of powerful. So I don't know what we want to call this, but starting at 17th level, you gain the following benefits to your ritual combat. Uh, 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 0 hit points, or killed by an or immediately killed by an effect controlled by your ritual, by a creature affected by your ritual combat. You may spend a key point to be reduced to 1 hit point in the first time. This ability may only be used once per long rest. If a creature affected by your ritual combat attempts to provokes an attack of opportunity, you may spend a key instead of your reaction to make that attack and move 5 feet. This ability may only be used once per long rest, and is refreshed if you reduce a creature affected by your ritual combat to 0 or fewer hit points. So there we go. That is, I think, what really um, ritual. It's like you're stubborn, right? You're not you're stubborn. You're sticky. You're persistence. So at 17th level, if someone manages to knock you out, they just don't the first time. The Yes, that's the whole point. Is that if they move away, you don't use your reaction. You use a key to follow them, hit them, and then if they keep trying to move, you still have your reaction so that you can hit them, which gives you, if you're following along at home, if both of those hit, that gives you your 2 hits in a turn to trigger your martial arts ability from the last from your level 11. So if someone tries to run away from you, you say no. But again, that kind of requires your DM to let you be fancy, right? Like, because if your DM is like, oh wait, no, he's not going to provoke that second attack of opportunity, that's fine. But the other thing that all of your persistence and the like allows is if other people can give you attacks on their turn. I can't think of anyone who can give you 2 attacks, but like a battle master fighter or someone like that, if they can somehow get you to have a second attack on their turn, then you could. Yeah, but I think battle master only gives you one, or well, I guess they'd have to spend multiple superiority dice, right? But you, oddly enough, the guy who's supposed to be all about one-on-one fighting, uh, he can cheat, and he probably should cheat because being able to chain a whole bunch of combination strikes is really good. And this is at level 17, display order 7. You know what? We're gonna make this a little bit better. In addition, you may spend an additional. You you may spend any amount of additional key points as you choose. If you do, immediately use that many hit dice to restore hit points. So if you get knocked down, then you can basically just burn up your key and be like, you know what, I'm taking a short rest in the middle of this fight because I almost died. And I feel like yes, to immediately use that many hit dice. Hit dice as though you were taking a short rest to restore hit points. You gain no other benefits from you gain no other benefits. Yeah, so you're very, very good at one-on-one fighting. And you still have the fact that you're a monk, so every now and then, if there's more than one weak target, you can spread your attacks out. So, create class feature. You know what? Maybe not once, may only be used not maybe once per long rest, may only be used a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier per long rest. Because only being able to do that once, that'll probably go get changed back to once whenever we do a balance look at all of these. But only being able to like follow people around once a day feels really good, but it also feels for level 17 where other people are like making a pocket plane of existence to go to every 2 minutes to rest for 8 hours. Level 17, you should get something really big. And short rest in the middle of a fight the first time you're killed a day, and super sticky, I think are really good for this. So feature type granted, create class feature. Aryssan, Way of the Trial Combatant. And there we go. There is our monk. Again, you get enhanced key usage. Let's go to the big screen. So starting at level 3, your Flurry of Blows. Oh, we need to. Nope. Let's do it. Let's do it where we're editing so that we can make fixes. We only fixed it in one place. So level 3, your first enhanced key usage, your Flurry of Blows. You deal additional damage with your Flurry of Blows. Patient Defense. You make it so that the creature, when it attacks and hits you, you reduce its damage. And Step of the Wind, it's essentially you charge someone, and that first turn is really, really good. If you next to a hostile creature and no other creatures in the first round of combat, because we don't want you to be able to be using Step of the Wind every round. So in the first round of combat, you just get in someone's face and make their life miserable. The boring part where you just gain an extra skill. Ritual combat, which is your thing. You lock stuff down and make things want to fight you. And if you win your duel, you get a key point back, which is kind of nice. Training Regimen, you gain bonus hit points. Combo Breaker, you can interrupt monsters with multiple attacks. Improved Strikes. If you hit a creature that's in one turn, that's important because, like we were talking about earlier, you can get multiple attacks on other people. Yes, Combo Breaker, exactly. And then Recovery Strike. And then finally, the level 17 Break the Game abilities, where you follow someone around, punching them in the face if they ignore you. And if the first time in a day when you get knocked out, you just get to say no and recover a whole bunch of hit points. Yeah. Now, for the boring part. So, Combo Breaker works like this. When a creature has if a creature takes more than one attack on you or a creature adjacent to you, you may spend a key point to take a reaction attack that lets you use that automatically is a stunning strike if it hits. So basically, on its second attack, you get to say no and might stun it, so it doesn't get to make any more attacks. Which is what a combo breaker is, right? Like, instead of getting a whole bunch of hits after the first hit, it's stunned, it's done. All right. And now for the part where we see if I broke anything. We hit submit. There we go. It's published and approved, which doesn't mean anything beyond I only put abilities at the levels it was supposed to, and there was nothing broken in beyond. Which now we go to my characters. We are gonna just create standard homebrew content. As always, we're just a random Arakoa whatever monk. Go to level 3. Monastic tradition. And now we're going to make sure we choose a skill that will see if it works. Alright. And now choose a generation method, manual rolled. Everything's just 16 because we're just trying to test and make sure it works. All right. So view character sheet. Features and traits. Key. Enhanced key usage. There we go. And then when you click on it, the extra stuff pops up. Skill training, no choice made. Let's go fix that. All right. So level 3 worked. Edit character. We're going to choose history. And see this pop up if you're still watching? This is what I meant. It's like, oh, hey, you already knew that. Go learn a different skill. And so we'll go learn a different skill. All right. Now we'll bump up to level 6. So here we go. Yes, let's go down to 5. So 43 hit points. And then at level 6, we go up to 57 hit points, which should be because of, choose an option, ability score, whatever, wisdom. Yeah, I think one of the random, like, I'm not picking any options, and I think it's telling me that one of my background options gives me religion. Oh wait, that's not the background I picked. I don't know why it said that. No, my strength, double wisdom. Uh, Training regimen, you gain additional hit points per hit die. Next. Oh no, there we are. We did pick a hermit. That's why it was saying, hey, you get religion from being hermit. So don't pick that skill. I guess I don't know. Uh, it's unaffected by our background. So okay, that's great. Um, this doesn't tell me it doesn't show me like the breakdown of how it got those hit points. Yeah, it's the same reason I'm an Arakoa. It's just whatever gets picked first while we're testing this. That makes me happy. Per hit die you have. No, I think that worked right. It's 57. Oh, here's an easy way to test that. Let's now. Where's this? We want to edit character, and then I don't think there were anything that would change at level 11. All right. There's another ability score. There's our improved strikes. It showed up like it should. And level 17. There's our persistence showed up as it should. So there we go. Our monk works the way we wanted it to, in theory. Now we'll just go ahead and delete this random test monk. And there we go. Thank you for those of you who were here to watch, and we'll go back to our here. As you can see, we've got all of our various Aryssan subclasses with our various inconsistent version naming. So I don't know when I'll be on again to do another one of these. Probably a week or two whenever I come up with a new subclass to put in here. And Jonas is in the chat, and this is what I did instead of running our Descent into Avernus today, but we will be back for that sometime in the future. Thank you all, and don't make that face. You and the McNugget gang will have fun. They're apparently going to have a party with the Van Thampers. It's going to be great. Anyway, I'll talk to you all later. Bye.